Hey, so I know you've been sick and all, but it's been a week since you last posted. And do you always wear that mask all the time?
Yeah, I'm Spider-Man.
Before we jump straight into the video, I just want to take a quick minute to firstly thank a member of the stash, Brandon the Awesome, for not only requesting this video, but for subscribing to the channel membership for a total of 5 months. Mate, that is honestly insane. I really can't thank you enough for the endless support you've given me on this channel, and I hope that you and everyone else watching this video enjoys. A quick reminder also, we're trying to reach 4,000 subscribers here at the stash, and any support really does go a long way, so if you're new around here and you like Batman or just comic content in general, feel free to stick around and maybe hit that subscribe button. Anyway, with all that being said, it's time for... Telltale begins ashore at the annual Cruise for Care event. It's a night on the harbour for Gotham's elite, for a small price of $10,000 per ticket. However, for this time round, they're about to get some uninvited company. Out of nowhere, like they've been transported back in time, a group of pirates invade the boat, all in the name of Captain Fear. This job is proving to be quite easy for the newly emerging band of thieves, for they take what they want and make a mostly clean getaway, unbeknown to them that a certain Bruce Wayne has had his interest piqued. He may not be able to do anything about it this time, but it just means there's more fuel to the fire. Afterwards, the GCPD arrive at the scene trying to make sense of the whole situation. Harvey is having a difficult time trying to grasp that he has to encounter even more swashbucklers, while Renee Montoya is seemingly getting pretty friendly with the Coast Guard. Later, Mayor Kroll is making the Commissioner's life extremely difficult. Word got out about the recent pirate robbery. Some of Gotham's highest rollers were on that yacht, people crucial to Kroll's campaign contributions. Without them, then Marion Grange would have a much clearer shot at taking his job, the job that's tied directly to the Commissioner. He warns her to get this dealt with immediately. She asks for any suggestions. Mayor Kroll sternly tells her she knows what to do, and how to reach a certain someone. Meanwhile, at Wayne Manor, Bruce is having some difficulties of his own, but more so in the washing department. But the dynamic duo's laughs are cut short for when the bat signal pierces through the night sky. They rush to the GCPD and all of them talk about Captain Fear. Overall, the meeting between Batman and Commissioner Essen is one to forget. However, at least one thing's clear: the Dark Knight is on the case. Soon at the docks, 2 watchmen are effortlessly taken care of, allowing Batman and Robin free access to the boat. A quick paint job later, and the 2 heroes are off in search for Captain Fear and his thieving crew. Batman and Robin are trying to put together the pieces. Who could this new foe possibly be? What exactly is his game? But then, in fate's twisted way, the man himself, Fear, is calling for the Batboat. As the dynamic duo rush over, Captain Fear and his crew prepare for the encounter, with Annie also making sure that no one drops the pirate act. Suddenly, a member of the crew yells out a warning, for the Dark Knight and his ward have finally arrived. Batman leaps from boat to boat, kicking one of the guards right in the chin. Another engages, trying to stab Batman, however he's no match, for with one simple dodge and strike, the Caped Crusader is victorious. As Batman battles on, Annie wants to personally fight Robin. Tim tries his best, but in the end it's just not enough. Annie knocks him into the boat, causing Robin to hit his head on a switch and allowing the boat to flee from the scene. It's now or never, Captain Fear's big moment. He demands his guards to get away, for he deems only himself worthy of Batman's presence. Yet within a matter of seconds, the snappy 17th century patter disappears, for Batman gains the upper hand. He brings Fear to the cold, crushing place of reality, from being a pirate king to an average punk. But with some twisted luck, a moment of lapse, the Dark Knight's bravado bites him back as he slips over pearls like those of his late mother's, allowing the entire gang to take the chance and leap forward, rendering the Batman helpless. Sometime later, Bruce slowly awakens from the same loud, repetitive sound pushing his eardrums to their limits. For he is trapped on a buoy somewhere at sea, with his eventual demise getting ever so closer with each passing second. Far away, Robin begins to regain consciousness. Luckily, he must have had a guardian angel over his shoulder, for if he was to awaken but a second longer, he would have met a fiery death. As he goes onto shore, he tries to reach Batman, but to no avail. Robin begins to fret over the outcome of his partner in crime. Little does he know that the Dark Knight is lost at sea. His hands have numbed, his hopes slowly fading, yet our hero is still as ever alert. Judging by the boy, it most likely means he's in the harbour or one of the inland waterways. His cow's radio's out, probably from the beating he took. Batman, stranded in the ocean, wonders to himself why Captain Fear and his crew didn't kill nor unmask him. Much like the fog, that question surrounds the Dark Knight to no end. Meanwhile, Captain Fear and his crew seem to be having some internal problems. It seems those working for him have questions and concerns of their own, but he's not happy to be hearing it. He counts it all as mutiny. They personally believe the right thing to do is lay off for a while, as the heat is completely on. It was first the guard, then the cops, and now Batman. Speaking of, one asks why they let him live in the first place. Captain Fear strides forward, revealing that it simply pleases him. The crew instinctively follows. Fear shares to the group that there's a yacht party taking place tonight around Bristol shores. If successful, the score would be more than enough for the entire crew to lay low for a while. And so at that moment, it is settled on what they must do. Elsewhere, Robin is still having major difficulties on trying to reach Batman. As the minutes tick by, Tim panics with all the horrible possibilities surrounding the Dark Knight's fate, until at last he remembers one last thing: his Hail Mary, Batman's homing transmitter on his utility belt. And luckily for Robin, there's already a signal picking up, so he sets out to find Bruce. But what of the Dark Knight, you may ask? Well, he's grown more weary by each passing second as he's still lost at sea. Somehow, using his detective skills, he's managed to estimate a rough idea of his location. Judging by the lights in the distance resembling those of Blackgate Prison, he believes he's somewhere in the estuary. This would put him directly in the path of the rip. With the tide running out, it turns to a 30-knot torrent straight out to sea, leaving the boy to toss like a cork in a blender. Sometime later, Robin meets up with Detective Smith from the GCPD. After he explains the situation, Smith agrees to help out. At Captain Fear's hideout, he prepares to set off with all but two of his crew, for they agreed to stay back. One is having even more doubts about their fearless leader after he expresses his ever-growing disdain for his boss, yet is quickly hushed in case the parrot hears him. The two then shift their focus back to Batman's belt, but as soon as they even touch it, gas shoots out from a capsule and engulfs the room completely, leaving the two goons out cold. The whole thing works out great for Robin and the detective though, because they just arrived at the scene. After they enter the boathouse, the pair assess their situation. The bird kept repeating what they're saying, so Shotgun Smith decides to try to shoot the parrot until Robin demands him not to, because unbeknown to the detective, that this electric bird is their key to finding Batman. Although they'll have to hurry, for the Dark Knight is quickly running out of time. Soon, Robin heads back to the Batcave and takes a closer inspection of the parrot with Harold. It takes Harold no time to find the controls of the electric bird, which allows the two to access its memory log. Doing so allows them to discover that Bruce is thankfully still alive. For how long though is an entirely different thing. He passed out for most of the day. Batman is on the verge of breakdown. It's been just under 18 hours since he's been trapped, and 18 hours is all it took for the tide to slowly come in. The boy is straining on its chain. Bruce's weight mixed with the current is heeling it over. At this rate, he'll drown by high tide. He must get free. But how? His arms and legs numb. Countless hours have already passed, filled with failed attempts to escape. He could easily drown before Fear even returns. He'll kill him for certain if Bruce manages to somehow stay above. But of course, there's plenty of more dangers in the sea that could strike first. Soon after, Captain Fear and his crew arrive at their destination, yet they're perplexed to find that the entire area is empty. But then, a piercing call rings throughout. It was all one big setup. They demand for them to drop their weapons, but Fear retaliates. He begins shooting away at all the law enforcements. His crew follows and prepares to blast their way through. Suddenly, a youthful voice calls out, asking permission to come aboard. It's the Boy Wonder himself. The one behind the whole setup. He swings on by, kicking Annie in her back. Robin tells Fear it's over. The Coast Guard is closing in. He exclaims for ramming speed and all hands to stations, yet it turns out his entire crew are all but mere cowards, for they jump ship. Fear runs to the control panel and Robin swiftly follows. He rips the door open, asking for Batman's location. Fear keeps his cards close to his chest. The boy wonder tells him to drop the act and strikes right at him, demanding to know where Batman truly is. He doesn't let up. Robin doesn't give Fear a moment to rest as he lands a mean left hook to the jaw, this time shouting for Bruce's whereabouts. Fear strikes him back across the chin, leaving the boy wonder dazed as he finally takes him to the Batman, also they can perish together. Upon arrival, they find the boy half sunken with the cape of the Dark Knight barely showing. He grabs Robin and commands him to look at the remains of his fallen hero. But then, a voice reaches out from behind. Not a good night for fishing. Nothing was biting. Batman, the Cape Crusader himself, stands there against all odds, filled to the brim with rage towards Captain Fear. And so in just one blow he unleashes all of that and more as he sends Fear flying off the boat. The dynamic duo slowly sit and regain their breath. Robin asks how he managed to pull off the escape. Batman explains that his blood drew the sharks closer and due to their coarse, abrasive skin, he managed to use them to get through the ropes. Then Batman used the boy to protect him until the sharks eventually moved on. Tim makes note of how they both cut this one too close. Batman agrees. Tim also mentions that he lost their boat. Bruce smiles and tells him maybe it's time they had one of their own. And so our tale ends with the police arresting all of Captain Fear's crew, urging them to reveal his identity. However, much to their disappointment, they simply never saw him without that mask, cementing Captain Fear, this colourful new foe, with having made a major escape of his own, leaving everyone involved with more puzzling questions than answers. The menacing tale of Captain Fear was honestly a story I did not expect to enjoy as much as I did, from the fun dialogue to Batman just looking so unbelievably cool at the end, but most of all, to Tim Drake's entire role within the story. To be honest, Robin really carried these couple of issues for me. I really enjoyed his moment in the spotlight. I like how it shows that when Batman is out of the picture, he's still very capable on his own, whether it be to find the resources to rescue Bruce, or managing to be just as threatening as the Dark Knight himself. Tim was a major beacon of light. His presence always managed to carry this fun energy to the page with his youthful charm. I mean, save for one or two scenes, Tim is always smiling and that rubs off on Bruce too. Their dynamic was so much fun to read as well. I loved the development within their partnership too, and here was probably in its peak. But when we're dealing with someone like Chuck Dixon as the writer, I expect no less. That man is the master when it comes to writing the Bat family, and here it's no different. The art as well was an incredible highlight. The style just really worked, and it felt like a great mix of the 90s and 60s styles, especially when it comes to Captain Fear's costume. In general, he's a great foe for Batman. He's not necessarily a tough one. I mean, the only way he got as far as he did was based off pure luck, but just through his mannerisms and theatrical nature alone, he stole the show on each page he was on. I mean, even the way he dealt with the Batman after the stroke of luck was pretty impressive. I wasn't expecting something as brutal as that, and it created a great sense of tension throughout the entire comic because things started to look genuinely bleak for the Dark Knight. But man, seeing Bruce sneak up behind Fear the way he did after all he had been through was seriously such a cool moment within the story. But so overall, what do I think of the great tale of Captain Fear? Well, personally for me, I think it's a heavily underrated story, one that gets overlooked within the many issues of Detective Comics, but still one that deserves more credit than it gets. It's a great fun little comic full of action, drama, and good old-fashioned piratey charm.